by the grace of God, I'm still alive.
Canyon Mansfield could be dead, and his parents,
he watched my dog suffocate, and he almost died himself,
are outraged. It was Thursday afternoon when the 14-year-old was on a walk with his dog Casey above a hill behind their Pocatello home.
I see this little pipe that looked like a sprinkler sticking out of the ground. And so I go over and I inspect it and I touch it, and then it pops, makes a pop sound. And it spews orange gas everywhere.
The orange gas was cyanide, and the wind blew it straight into Casey's face.
And I see him in some bushes, having a seizure. He had these glassy eyes. He was he couldn't see me. He he had this red stuff coming out of his mouth, and so I was freaking out.
Canyon came running down the hill, and he said, Mom, there's something wrong with Casey. So we ran up the hill, and by the time we got there, Casey had died.
Canyon's mom called the police, then called her husband, a doctor, who rushed home from work.
First thing I did was I tried to resuscitate the dog. Unfortunately, I therefore exposed myself to cyanide.
Emergency crews arrived, and it took hours and multiple agencies to learn Casey had died from an M44, a device the U.S. Department of Agriculture uses to control coyotes and other predators. M44s release cyanide when they're touched, and they're usually covered in bait to attract unwanted animals.
We didn't know anything about it. There were no neighborhood notifications. Our local authorities didn't know about this.
Canyon and his dog Casey often hike the hill behind their home. The family's lived here for 10 years. They say they have never seen these devices before, and the one that went off yesterday was found right on the borderline of their property.
So if the dog goes and smells it or licks it, it shoots off. And so there goes your dog.
Canyon was rushed to Portneuf Medical Center for treatment, and his family and sheriff deputies at the scene had blood drawn to make sure they were okay. Investigators then discovered another M44 about 50 yards from the first one.
300 yards away from this swing set next to my house, there were 2 cyanide bombs.
U.S. Department of Agriculture Wildlife Services says this is the first unintentional discharge of an M44 in Idaho since 2014, and in a statement to eastidahonews.com says, Wildlife Services understands the close bonds between people and their pets and sincerely regrets such losses. Wildlife Services has removed M44s in that immediate area and is completing a thorough review of the circumstances of this incident to determine whether improvements can be made to reduce the likelihood of similar occurrences happening in the future.
We couldn't even have a proper burial for him because we didn't know how to deal with cyanide. No one knows how to deal with cyanide.
The clothes Canyon was wearing now sit in a bag, as the Mansfields are unsure what to do with them. They hope no other family has to experience what they have.
If you plant bombs by our house, just tell us.
It kills anything, and it almost killed my child, and it did kill my dog. And I don't want it to kill my neighbors.
He's lucky to be alive, Thank God. Thank God.
In Pocatello, Nate Eaton, eastidahonews.com.